Go woke and go broke. That's the slogan you're going to hear from a lot of Republican candidates looking ahead to the 2024 presidential election. I want to cover this one because it crosses into finance, politics, business, all of these things, and I think it's fun to talk about. So first, this is Governor DeSantis. He's basically picking a fight with BlackRock and saying, yo, we're going to pull out $2 billion. So they're not talking about small money, right? To continue this fight against the woke leftists, right? And you're going to see as well that there are going to be a lot of pressure. Basically, what it is a lot of people who are looking at their stock portfolios or looking at their retirement funds and like, oh my God, why are all my funds going down? Why is the market crashing? I blame you, BlackRock, for all of your woke policies and your woke investing. And this is a real thing. People are going to think this way. And it's a very easy attack for people to make. And I'm mentioning this because I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's really quite interesting. It sort of reminds me of when essentially things go down, the claws come out, and everyone starts attacking each other. And that is a real thing. I do perfectly understand that people are upset when they're losing money. But the one thing I am going to call out, though, is that it's not necessarily just politics, because if that were the case, then your most conservative hero, Elon Musk, Tesla stock is going down by half. And so, how does that fit into your go woke, go broke sort of slogans? The truth is, it doesn't. So one of the things that is I really want to emphasize is that when we talk about this kind of stuff is, don't necessarily read the news always with your emotions, because if you do, you're going to get caught up in that kind of stuff. Because here's the reality, guys. Interest rates are going up, right? It's not just the USA. It's all around the world. Also, too, the stock market has been on a crazy bull run for years because we've had low interest rates. So, when you raise interest rates, also, too, when you have a war in Ukraine, all these things add up. It's not just because Disney decides to cast different types of people that suddenly the whole market crashes because of Disney going woke. But I get it. That certainly plays to that audience. And certainly for those of you who think DeSantis is a hero, that makes sense to you. But in my estimation, the economy is not necessarily dependent on who Disney casts as the Little Mermaid. So that's just my opinion on that one. If you guys disagree, please let me know. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because, I'm looking around the world here, and they're raising interest rates everywhere. You guys can see this. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, you're going to get rate decisions on multiple central banks. It's going to be like Europe, Philippines, Taiwan, USA, etc. Inflation does remain high, right? You guys can see this here. We've seen this for quite a while now. Remember the Fed, they're looking for a 2% inflation, but we're still a long ways from that. And one of the things that we're also concerned about is what is inflation going to do into next year? Now, if you ask a lot of economists and sort of think, this is according to Bloomberg, they do think inflation has already peaked. However, no one knows necessarily if it's going to come down quick anytime soon. So that's sort of the key. Now, one of the things that's also interesting is we're asking money managers, what are the risks going into next year? Now, I'll show you this chart here. This sort of says that basically we're looking at possibly, right, inflation could stay high. Possibly you could have a strong recession. If you ask this sort of fund managers, they don't think, though, that necessarily escalation in Ukraine is necessarily a big risk. They're not necessarily thinking that China is a big risk. This one's the interesting one, liquidity crunch. I don't know about that one, because I actually think liquidity crunch is a risk, meaning that the banks just are going to quit lending out money to other people, and sort of like whether or not, people are going to have trouble with, say, a wave of foreclosures or a wave of defaults on their credit cards. So I actually disagree with this one. I do agree with the 1 and 2, right? High inflation may stay strong, and same with recession. It's interesting, too, that the fund managers were saying that crypto collapse is basically done. And it's not a big risk going into next year. So we'll see. That might be true. How much more money can possibly come out of crypto? But to be fair, though, all of it could come out, right? So you could have more pain ahead. So if you take a look at this chart, this is basically comparing inflation around the world and projections. There's a couple things that really stand out. If you look at this, so it basically is saying that in emerging markets, inflation will stay high. And the other thing that's sort of interesting about forecasts, and again, guys, this is predicting the future, so no one knows 100, but they're saying actually that inflation may go up in China in 2024. So that part's kind of interesting, and I think it may have to do with, the China's experiencing still COVID and lockdowns, say, into 2023, which may have repercussions into 2024. Now, usually the general rule of thumb is buy low, sell high, that kind of thing. And so the question would be like the stocks that are getting beaten down the most recently would be, say, your tech stocks and your stocks in China. And this is sort of asking fund managers, what do you think? Should we buy this stuff? You can look at the percentages for yourself, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment if you disagree or agree. But they're basically saying, hey, half of them are like, you know what, maybe tech is looking a little bit more attractive. China stocks, a little bit over half are saying it's also looking attractive, but they're going to carry a lot of risks. China, you have political risks, of course, and then also too with tech stocks, you have growth risks because especially too that they've been the outperformer this sort of last bull cycle, and usually these things go in cycles, right? So if a group of stocks perform really, really well in say like a 10, 20-year period, don't expect it to be like that forever. But I understand, a lot of young people new to the market, and also too like people like Kathy Wood will say, hey guys, they're going to perform great forever, but it's not necessarily the case. Now, returning to the go woke, go broke theme, I want you to ask yourself this fundamental question. When you take a look at companies like, say, an Amazon, say like a Netflix, just for example, do you think the reason why Amazon stock is down is because suddenly they've started selling a whole bunch of woke products? Is that something that makes sense to you? What about Google? What about Netflix? I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments, these kind of things. Because remember, too, how does that fit in with your worldview that, say, Tesla stock is down? Is that because suddenly Elon Musk is a woke bloke? Is that a thing? Who knows? However, for those of you who are interested in stuff, to entertain the idea, I want to show you something I thought was really, really fun. So what I did here is I'm actually searching for conservative companies. So we'll type in conservative companies, and we'll get a general sense of which ones that I can invest in, or which ones I should shop at if I'm into this stuff. So we'll open up a couple tabs here, and we'll go through these together, and it's actually really quite interesting. So the first one here is this is a list of like the most conservative companies. So if you want to invest in your beliefs, this is a true story. My Pillow's on there, Molson Coors, Hobby Lobby, you got ConocoPhillips, Charity Mobile, Parlor is another one, Rumble is another thing, Ruger, Uline. So I'm just trying to help you guys out. This is a Black Rifle Coffee Company, right? So these are some conservative ones. And Interstate Batteries. So if you want conservative companies, this is something that I found. I also found this really interesting list here as well. There's another one of conservative companies that you might be interested in. And in fact, we can go through these together. So the ones that really stand out, Alaska Airlines. So if you're a conservative, according to this chart, they're saying they support conservative religious causes. If you want to fly, you can fly Alaska. Also here on the list is Bass Pro Shops. So if you're into fishing and to guns, you're okay. Evidently, Bloomingdale's carries Ivanka Trump shoes, so that would be a conservative company. You can go with that one. Bruce Willis, if you want to just give him money, he's conservative as well, so that's good. You also have Applebee's. So Applebee's is against Obamacare, so you can go ahead and eat at Applebee's, no problem. Ace Hardware, which is another conservative company, I guess, because they support conservative causes. And ADT, that I think that's like home security, which actually makes sense. They advertise on the Sean Hannity show. It's actually really funny because if you think about that, essentially Hannity is going to tell you that everyone's going to attack you every day, and you need to make sure that you buy your gold and your weapons and your home security to make sure that everything is okay. So actually makes sense. AngelSoft is an interesting one. So AngelSoft, again, this is a list of conservative companies, and we're just starting the A's, just going through this. This is toilet paper. So me personally, when I go to the toilet paper store, the grocery store, I just buy whatever's on sale. That's just me. But if you do want to buy conservative toilet paper, AngelSoft is your brand. And it's actually quite funny because I guess it makes sense. Angels, Christians, and conservatives, it all makes sense. AngelSoft is your brand for conservative toilet paper. I can't say it with a straight face, but it is a real thing. Century 21 sells Ivanka Trump clothing. Carl's Jr. So if you want to get hamburgers, that's a place to go for conservative. Chick-fil-A. Actually, true story, I like Chick-fil-A. My wife likes Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is a good company. I'm not being paid to say that. Good company in terms of good chicken. And also, too, to be fair, they do close on Sundays because they are conservative. Circuit City. I'm more of a Best Buy guy myself, or Amazon, or directly from the company. So I'm not a huge fan of Circuit City. But if you do want to shop conservative, you can do that. They are on this list here. So Coors is another one. So if you're all about beer, conservatives, that you have no trouble buying beer. It's like beer and alcohol, and Domino's Pizza, another one that's also conservative. You guys can see this for yourself. Dove soap, interesting. So they're saying on the list that the leftists have wrongly accused Dove soap of racism. I was unaware of that. I actually use Dove soap myself because I think it works pretty good because I like soap. CVS Pharmacy, so they boycotted Black Lives Matter. So shop here. Okay. You guys know I'm kind of making jokes, but the point is though is that if you go through all this list here, and you could look at Hardee's and stuff like that, and if you want to live your life to where you're always really hyper concerned about what's conservative, what's not conservative, it becomes really, really tough. It becomes really tough to live. And I'm curious if anyone's actually going to do this. So for example, In-N-Out Burger, I love In-N-Out. So regardless conservative or not, I like In-N-Out. I think that's a great place to eat food, and I have no shame in saying that I like In-N-Out. The one I thought was really interesting on the list, which I kind of skipped over, which I want to go back to it, which I thought was a little bit strange, is Amway is on this list. And in my opinion, Amway is basically a scam. And these kind of companies, that's sort of your pyramid scheme kind of stuff. But according to this website, there's 100% of its contribution go to Republicans and conservatives. So leftists boycott this company, but I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this one. Oh, and Brawny Paper Towels is on the list as well. What else do we have here? And we're going through this. And it's kind of fun oh, Olive Garden. Olive Garden fights Obamacare, so therefore you can eat at Olive Garden and have no problem. We already know about My Pillow. That one's on there. Mitsubishi, interesting. That's a Japanese company. Resisted calls to withdraw ads from the Tucker Carlson show. Another beer one, that's Miller Coors. Mary Kay. And it's interesting. Mary Kay is an interesting one because you could make the case that Mary Kay is also kind of like a pyramid scheme kind of thing. So, but evidently they are okay among conservatives. Ritz-Carlton is okay. You can stay there if you like. Starkist. Starkist. I think that would be the... that should be the candy. I could be wrong, though. This one's an interesting one. They have 3M on here. And 3M, the reason why I say it's interesting is because they're the company that, they make lots of face masks, right? So I'm not quite sure if that fits in because people, who want to buy face masks to protect themselves from the virus, that might be supporting leftist agenda of, virus stuff. So I don't know if that's necessarily Republican. Also, too, they had the issue with the military and their earplugs malfunctioning, essentially people losing their hearing. There's a major lawsuits over that. So I would question that. Urban Outfitters, I guess they are conservative. It's really quite interesting because your Urban Outfitters is usually in the big cities. My wife actually likes their clothes quite a bit. See, I don't work for any of these companies. I'm just telling you what we like. Wendy's, I used to always get their dollar menus, but I don't think it's dollar anymore. And Timberland, cut ties with Red China. So I'm just showing you these lists, guys, and I hope you probably get my point of view on this stuff, is that if you're going to live through life, thinking that just because companies are woke, they go broke, and you're only going to shop at these kind of companies, like, say, LendingTree, for example, it becomes really tough to live life. Also, too, in my opinion, you're not living in reality anymore. Because just because, I'm just using an example of Disney, just because Disney casts a different type of person as Little Mermaid doesn't necessarily sink the whole economy and isn't the only reason why, say, Disney stock is down. And the same example, I would say, your hero, Elon Musk, his stock is down as well. Did they go woke? And so I just find this really ridiculous. And the main reason why I do bring this up, though, is because it is going to enter in our politics. And sort of what I mentioned before, and just kind of explain myself a little bit more, DeSantis is a smart guy. He is not stupid by any stretch of imagination. He's a smart person. But when he says this kind of stuff of like, oh, all these companies are going woke, we're going to pull our money out of it, and I'm going to blame all these woke policies for why your stock is going down, essentially this is just playing to a dumb audience. And unfortunately, a lot of people do fall for this kind of stuff. And that's the reality. And also, too, to be fair, Democrats play these same stupid policies, speaking to dumb people as well. And I don't mean to be too mean, but when I see these kind of things, I just feel like, oh my God, this is the world that we're in right now. And people want to believe whatever fantasies they want. But I try to keep it real. Interest rates are going up. Inflation is high. And it has very little to do with whether or not Disney cast a different type of person as Little Mermaid. So if you disagree with my thoughts on these things, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well as a list of conservative companies. And if you are going to boycott Olive Garden, if you vote Democratic and say, you know what, I'm not going to get unlimited possible anymore. Or if you're all about Republicans, if you're like, you know what, I'm all about unlimited possible, I'm going to Olive Garden. Love to hear your thoughts on this one. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.